There's water in the cooler. Bottled water. Planning, I'll go ahead and open the meeting. The objective of this meeting is to really just to collect inputs from people. We don't want to debate pros and cons of anyone's ideas and stuff. In fact, there's even a stack of 3x5 cards there if you want to write stuff on there and hand it to us or email us afterwards. We're trying to serve the homeowners and give the homeowners what they want and come to some consensus as to which directions that we want to go in. So as much as we possibly can, we want to try and collect stuff. Also, there's, in front of Lorraine, there's new directories that I put together. We've done a lot of changes. I don't know what email addresses people want to be contacted. I don't know what phone numbers, it should be their fine phone numbers. So you can either add it to that, or you can write them on there if you want to correct it, or you can just email me and I'll update that and get that out to everyone. One of the things I mentioned is that we're really looking for volunteers to help. Mark and Chris are helping an awful lot on this, and they've had to back down for some personal reasons and stuff, so we really need other people to volunteer. The areas that we need volunteering in is, and again, minimalist is the key word here. We're going to try and minimize stuff as much as we possibly can. So when I say we want an architectural committee, it's as minimum as we can possibly make it. If someone wants to put forward an argument that it should be stronger than a minimal, we'll listen to that, but we want to do what the committee wants. The feedback that I've gotten to date is most people want to have an HOA that has minimal impact on them, so that's kind of our objective. So we're looking for people to volunteer to help on the architectural committee, take a look at the covenants, the initial covenants that we all received, or some of us received, and the bylaws. That was one committee. And then we also need to have a short committee that would look at getting a tax ID, opening a bank account, and how we handle information in the neighborhood, whether or not we put together our own website or whatever we want to do on that. So we're kind of looking for volunteers on that. And then when we get when we collect all the information and find out what people have on their mind and how they want this to run, I'll send out a summary. Right now, I'm recording everything here, so there's not going to be a lot of notes that are taken here, and I'll just transcribe what people say, what their wishes are, and what their points are here. And I'll get that out shortly after this meeting. And maybe a couple weeks from now, if there's issues that we need to discuss, we'll just take a survey and say, how many people would like the HOA to provide trash pickup? Just basic questions. And if everyone wants it, we do it. If no one wants it, we don't do it. So we really want to serve what the people want. And in my view, a board of directors represents the people, and when we should be representing what the people want and not what we want.
I have a question. You didn't open the meeting with what this is. Can you just tell me what it is? And there's no agenda. There's no written agenda, so it can't possibly be a ballot meeting of any sort. I mean, that is like a required. Tell me what it is. This is.
This is an informal board of directors meeting that all of the homeowners are invited to.
Informal. What is informal? It's just a neighborhood gathering.
No, it's a board of directors meeting.
That means you have to have an agenda. Is this your official?
I've got an agenda here.
Okay, right. It is supposed to be available. Okay, that's fine. Just tell me what your agenda is. I mean, I show up here and have no written agenda, no legal notice.
I'm sorry, I told you what the agenda is.
You have to have a written agenda when someone shows up. This is a board of directors meeting, which I object to, by the way. I'm officially objecting to this, but that's okay. Just move forward. As I don't know what board of directors of what, but anyhow, there's no written agenda, no proper notice. and you're talking about an architectural control committee and a tax ID, these things are already established. But that's okay, keep going. So it's not a board of directors meeting of what? You're supposed to have someone supposed to open the meeting.
It's the Barclay Ridge Homeowners Property Association Board of Directors meeting, inviting all the members.
This is the Barclay Ridge Property Owners Association Board of Directors. But you have no agenda, no legal notice, nothing.
I sent out an email.
You didn't send it to me.
Yes, I did.
Did you send it to Creighton Enterprises?
Your name is on it.
Did you send it to Creighton Enterprises? You did not. They are members.
But they don't pay any.
Doesn't matter. They don't have to. Creighton Enterprises is in good standing, and you did not send them a notice. You did not send them a notice, correct?
I used the email list that
Okay, the answer is no,
I
you
used the
didn't.
best email list I had at the time.
It's your
If they
job
were
to
on
have
the
it.
best, if they were on that email list, then they got it.
Okay, if you're going to do amateur night, that's fine. But you did not give me notice, you did not give them notice, and there's
I
other
did
people
give
as
you
well.
notice. You were on there. If you look at your own email and scan down your own email, you'll see.
Is this a special meeting or is this a regular meeting? Is this a special meeting or regular meeting?
You know, we would just really like to have a simple meeting. I
Well,
don't
that
know
is
about
not the
everybody
point.
else. You
This
know,
is the board of, you call the board of
your
directors meeting of
objection
something
is
and invite
noted.
me.
Your objection is noted, and we will enter it into the records, and that's fine, and then we can continue. You said
Well, no, I'm
everybody
asking
agree?
valid legal questions. Is there not an agenda? No. Did you serve me
Yes, there
notice?
is an
No.
agenda. Yes,
Is
I
this a
did serve
special
notice,
meeting
yes.
or a regular meeting? Is this a special meeting or a regular meeting?
Your objections have been noted.
Is this a special meeting or a regular meeting?
Tess, please.
Just answer the question.
No, if you want to be argumentative, please.
I'm asking a question. No, I'm not doing that. If this is what you're saying is the neighborhood BOD, that's fine. I want to know, is this a special meeting or a board of directors meeting? Or, excuse me, or a regular meeting of the board of directors? Answer the question.
Call it a special meeting.
You don't-
Call it whatever one.
You don't know, so you didn't, you don't know.
It is
Okay,
a special meeting of the Board of Directors. Are you happy?
And did you notice it as a special meeting? And what is the legal requirements for a special meeting of board of directors? You know, keep going.
We're not arguing with you. We just want to get through the meeting. After your objections have been noted for the record,
It's not going to get better.
this is the person that was elected
Then
back
you
in
should
November
perhaps
to
leave.
run
We
the...
are a peaceful group, Tess, and you're being very disruptive.
I don't care, I'm just asking
I
you
know
to do
you
it the
don't
legal,
care,
I don't
and
care.
that's an
Just do it the
obvious.
legal way.
This
You don't even know if it's a special
this-
meeting or a regular meeting,
This is the board of directors that was elected in November
which is the
by
purpose of the
unanimous,
fine unanimous. Did I vote for it?
You
didn't object?
didn't object.
There was no
Oh,
objection.
so if someone does
Without
it, oh, I
objection.
get it, okay.
Without objection.
Anyhow,
Okay,
So
so
what's the
anyway,
meeting?
let's continue, please, Owen.
So do we have any volunteers that could help with the Board of Directors?
I'm happy to serve on the board of directors when the members' meeting happens and I'm duly elected.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to participate in the board of directors? We're trying to find 5 so that we can have a quorum of 3. So anybody who is willing to at least participate would be more than welcome.
Jay, I've had a couple of people mention to me they have an interest and they can't be here tonight, and I will share that later.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be, they don't even have to show up in person. We plan on doing a lot of this stuff virtually over the phone. As you know, Jay's out of the country most of the time, and he can help us by Skype if need be. So any 5 minutes, 10 minutes that someone can spare to help would be appreciated.
Good. The only other things I really have, You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, Jay has done a lot of work on looking at a timeline as to how the community has gotten from 1994 to present date, and I think he'd like to talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah. This was basically for, I'm not sure, I think you're fairly new, right?
Yes, Dwight.
Dwight, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. I came into the community in 2003, I think, or something like that. So even I'm not one of the originals, if you will. But I've kept up with as much as I can. And I've read everything that's been presented in terms of what's been sent out to the county, the clerk of court, and on and on and on and on and on. And basically, just wanted to bring everybody up to the same level, just so that we all understand what the stakes are in this and why we're here. I'm a homeowner. I worry about liability. I worry about what's the architectural community of the place, and I worry about what liability I'm going to have if we have a problem with the dam or anything else. And I want a homeowners association and a property owners association that represents what we want as a community, not what the developer envisioned 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So that's why we're here. So we started out in 1993, it was when subdivision happened. 1994, there was some declarations of subdivisions and easements sent to the county. Subsequent to that, there have been a number of things that have happened that, and this is just enumerating what the things are. We haven't really had an annual meeting, which was required. Every meeting is supposed to be annual, both members' meetings and board of directors meetings. And at those members' meetings, we were entitled to vote on a new board of directors. Okay? Creighton reserved for itself to be the majority members of the board for 5 years. But after that, they cannot and must not, according to the declarations, be members of the board of directors. Period.
Objection,
Period.
that's part of the lawsuit
Noted,
that has not been
noted.
settled.
Noted. Noted.
Probably
Okay.
noted.
Then, as far as I know, there's been no legal stuff that's been done to make this a real property owners association. I don't know, I never got any notices from anybody. Okay, not in the 18 years that I've already owned my property. Okay, 15 years actually, 2003 to 2018. It's only in the last
20 years, Jay.
yeah, it's only in the last, I think, 18 months that I've seen anything, you know. And the only thing that I did was I made sure that I followed the architectural committee guidelines when I built my conservatory, and I sent it out to Brown and did all that stuff, just because that's what they told me to do. Okay. Anyway. In 2005, Creighton amended the declaration, and even though they were no longer really in charge, because after 1999 they cannot be on the board, they amended it.
Objection, that's a matter of law that has not been
Doesn't matter. That's what I'm just saying. I'm just
It's your
giving
opinion.
everybody objection noted. Thank you very much. But they really can't do that. But they did. And they basically just filed it with the clerk of the court. I mean, I can go file things with the clerk of the court too, but that's another thing. Anyway, but they also basically put I call it the I am God clause in there. Okay? Which basically says they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, in perpetuity. Okay? I mean, I don't know any law that lets anybody do anything they want to an association. And, you know, that could be up for a legal challenge. Anyway, but that's the thing. But there's a I am God clause. And that's something that I really, really object to. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want Jim Brown and anybody else telling me what to do with my property. Then there was a modification of the restrictive covenants filed in 2007. And some of it was done to get rid of 2 lots, 4 and 5, and give it to Juno Loudon, which eventually ended up in Creighton Farms. Okay? So 4 and 5 are no longer responsible to us, and if we take any liability for the dam, it becomes they are no longer responsible. We are. And we are responsible by what's called an appurtenant cause. In other words, it runs with the land. For 20 years, 10 years, and 10 years. And we can change it, but there's a I am God clause in there that basically says we can't do The Second Amendment basically is another subdivision easement. And some things are signed by the Barclay Ridge POA, some things are signed by Creighton Enterprises. There's no consistency. Don't know which one's legal, which one's not. That will be decided by somebody at some point. But basically, we have multiple amendments that basically hold us collectively and individually responsible for anything that happens with the pond. Collectively and individually, with pretty much unlimited liability. And we as a Barclay Ridge POA really need to have things like a tax ID, insurance, things like that to protect ourselves. I'm a businessman. I don't want to have the liability unless I've got insurance, right? And as far as I know, I'm not protected by anything that Creighton Enterprises or Brown or anybody else has done. Whereas the deed to the documents may say that I'm individually responsible, and I don't want to be. Okay? So there are some things that we can do, and there's some things that we want to do. With respect to the pond and the dam, we will eventually have to take over it. That's in the deed. Okay? But we want it in a state that it has been maintained, it's up to a low-risk dam, and the only thing that's been happening in the last 18 months is basically to get that burden off Creighton Enterprises and onto us. So...
What made you say that? What made you say that they take it, that they just take it?
Because I read Amendment 1 and Amendment 2, and that basically says we're no longer responsible, even though we may own lots, we're no longer responsible. The Barclay Ridge Property Owners Association is responsible.
But when have they not been responsible? Since the original covenants were signed in 1996, it said that all people will pay for maintenance of the pond and dam.
I'm not arguing that.
I lived in Singapore. I read it when I lived in Singapore before I bought my house.
That's fine. That's up to you. But
I can read it from Asia. You certainly can read it from here.
You know, look, all I'm saying is I'm trying to bring everybody up to the same level. If you want to object to what my characterization of it is,
I do
you're more
object
than
to the
welcome to.
characterization.
Okay, fine. It's so duly noted. But what I'm trying to do is to make sure that Dwight, who's fairly new to the community, and don't know whether he was aware of all of these issues when he bought the property, is aware of it. There are some people that were in this room that bought properties in this community without having any idea that there was a property owners association.
How did I know when I lived in Singapore?
I don't know. You must have prescient. I don't know.
There was probably one that you bought. There wasn't
You know?
one. There
No,
wasn't
I
one.
read the covenants.
There
I read
wasn't
the covenants.
There was not
Maybe you had the I am God clause in
No,
there. I don't know.
I read the covenants.
Okay.
I had a real
Well,
estate attorney
this
give me
is-
the covenants. I read them, and I read them in depth. How many people here read the covenants before they bought their house?
I wasn't given.
That'd
I wasn't given the covenants
It doesn't
because
matter.
there was no
May I make a
HOA.
statement regarding that test? I would like
It's
to
irrelevant.
answer you. No, it's not irrelevant.
It is a matter of law.
The
It is
county-
assumed
May I
that
talk?
you read them when they're filed.
May I talk and
Sure.
answer that? We had a meeting, the very first meeting with Creighton Enterprises. Jim, Norma, Mike, and Tim came. Nelson Johnson, who is one of our homeowners, asked the question, why weren't we told about any of this? Now, there are notes, a county representative attended, and the answer was because it wasn't required at the time.
What's not required?
Paperwork given to us.
Did you not get an attorney to do your real estate? I've been doing it. This isn't my first house.
I'm not
I
going to
lived in
argue with
Sing-
you.
I
I'm
lived in
telling you
Singapore.
what the Browns said.
It's irrelevant. You go to the county, you get the covenants. Nobody here
I
read
make a
their
motion
covenants.
to adjourn this meeting because
Because
it's not
Because they did not
conducive.
distribute.
You don't have to. It is your responsibility, just like the people that I bought my house from. I required it of them. Give me a copy of the covenants. I went to the
Your objection
court, I
and
got them.
your point is duly noted. May I continue?
Thank you for
May
the
I
information.
continue?
I'll remember
May I
that the
continue?
next time I buy a house.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
It should be. It's the first thing you do.
Excuse me, ma'am, I have the floor.
We don't
The
have an
amendment
agenda.
to the second
We
deed,
do.
which is also has
There's no written agenda.
the legitimate HOA. And then back in October, just before our meeting in November, there was an amended and restated bylaws to the BRPOA. Okay? And that's the last kind of nail in the coffin, if you will, where basically the I am God clause became I am only God of you, but everybody else, and including anything that has been done in the past. So this is our issue with all of this, is that we don't think that we should be responsible for things that were done without our vote, without a membership meeting, without a regular board of directors meeting for 15 odd years. And so this brings everybody up to speed.
How much
Okay.
you've paid over the last 20 years? How much you've
Yeah.
paid in assessments over the last 20 years?
I didn't
It'd be
receive,
$0.
I didn't receive any assessment.
Jim
or-
Brown said.
He's
when-
been paying for it.
Okay, Jim Brown said to us that the HOA assessment is contributing to the volunteer fire department. And that's what we were doing every year.
I've
That's
done
what
that
he
for 20
said.
years. I've done that for 20 years. $200 a
You
year.
ask him, you ask him.
I don't have to ask anybody. Item 33 on the original covenant states that you will pay for the dam and the pond. It
It
says
does
it.
not say pay for it, it says
You
you're
will,
responsible for maintenance.
responsible
of
for it.
And-
Maintenance, okay, well, there you go.
and
If you can do it for
The
free,
people that
that's
have been
fine.
around that pond have been maintaining it for the last 20 years with their weed whackers.
Okay.
The next thing we have on the agenda is Cheryl wanted to make some statement.
Wait. So you're saying the only thing you will do for the pond and the dam as the, whatever you are,
I said what has been done over the last
what
20
are
years.
you willing to do? Are you saying that you're not willing to pay for the cost of, what is it?
This
what
is
it
an
you want?
informational meeting. We
What
are
is
not
it you
making
want?
any decisions at this point.
But-
Haven't you been listening?
Yeah, but just
This
people
is
that
an
don't wanna do
informational meeting. We're letting people know what's going on. You know, this is why we're here. We're trying to kumbaya. Please kumbaya
Y'all have been
with
here
us.
for 20 years, other
If
than
you
us
don't
two
want to be
here.
a kumbaya, you're welcome to leave.
No, I'm gonna stay right here because
Okay,
you're
then,
the
then
one that called the
please,
meeting.
please
No, I'm
control
gonna do
yourself.
exactly what you
Please
did to me.
Please control yourself and let Owen, who is our duly
I am asking,
elected
what
board
do
of
you,
directors,
what is
continue.
what do you believe is your requirement to maintain the dam and the pond?
Make that a written thing and send it to
Yes.
us and we'll respond at some
I
point.
recorded that. and,
You're just a person here. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cheryl?
I just think we should all be thinking as this moves forward of some, I don't think anybody here wants to get into a situation where we're fighting old battles. There are many old battles to be fought that could be argued in court or litigated at great expense to everybody. When, as Jay said, I think he's right, we're ultimately going to be responsible for the dam, whether it's today or tomorrow. The question is in what condition and what information we have and what we decide maintenance means. These are questions we're going to have to resolve amongst ourselves. So it's something to look at as to, I think some people think there's a lot to be litigated over the past 20 years, and there is, but I don't think anybody wants to spend $500,000 to dispense with a $25,000 liability, for example. So I just think as we look at our legal action, we'll be keeping everybody informed as to our next steps after we wanted sort of an interim court thing, was that last week or the week before. We'll be looking at the big picture. We don't want to lose the forest for the trees, or lose the tree for the forest, and argue over a lot of minutia that doesn't impact the final result. And I think the final result is we as a homeowners association, all of us living here, will be responsible for the dam ultimately, again, whether it's yesterday or in 6 months, and we want it to be in good condition with the most information possible, the least liability that we can have for ourselves. And if we decide the worst case scenario with the liability, which could be very great, but nobody hopes for, as we've said, loss of life or something major comes from that dam, but the likelihood that that actually happens, I think, is very, very, very tiny. And if the worst case scenario happens and we have insurance, and then we are somehow sued as a homeowners association beyond that, but the HOA doesn't have money in it, nobody wants to get to that point, but that's one outcome that could happen. It really doesn't impact us in a terrible way, so we don't want to spend $2 million in 6 years fighting something that doesn't matter to us in the end, is what I'm trying to say. So let's think about all of that as we move forward and decide what steps we'll be taking. Not fighting over tiny little things that won't matter, but looking at the big picture when the ultimate resolution will be something that we will have that dam. We'll all be sharing responsibility somehow.
Right, yeah, I mean, at some point, you're right, that's how it always ends up. I brought buildings out of the ground and watched them go from the developer to the condominium association or whatever. I mean, the biggest thing that seems to me is that it was just, so much time has passed since he should have turned this over, that there should have been a board. And, and I understand, I've talked to a couple of people, like, I was talking to Bob the other day, he was telling me that, they were on this a long time ago and they were ready to do it, and they wanted all these waivers signed that basically said, we're not responsible for all these potential problems, and I mean, I've run across the same thing, and, unfortunately, litigation is oftentimes the outcome, so, but like you said, ultimately, that is probably going to be the case, so at some point, no matter what, whether they're declared this or this is declared this, there's going to be somebody, and then whoever that is, there's going to be a vote and things are going to change, and then you're stuck with that, and then those board members are going to make whatever decisions they make, and then it's just going to go from there. But it's
So I think our goal is just to have, and we've gotten, believe it or not, a ton of information in the last just couple of years. I mean, way more than we knew when he was trying to kind of force it on us a couple of years ago. Before we knew about the dam, we've learned so much. We don't know that we know everything, but we certainly have a lot of information now. And I think we're in a smarter place to take this responsibility to hopefully minimize, liability.
I mean, all I would like to see is an independent assessment of the dam. I don't know about you guys, but if the state came in and if the county came in and they said, yeah, this is really good, but not based on documentation provided by the developer, but an independent assessment of the dam, and said, okay, yeah, it is a low-risk dam. We'll never get the road over the dam taken over by the state, because they
won't
just
do it.
So,
Does it really matter that much?
well, somebody's got to take a pickup truck and go and clear the road.
Right, so maybe-
The state
so
will
like-
stop there.
Well, if it has to be repaired.
Actually, the
it's
state
not-
got the plow, I know the guy that plows it.
Yeah.
Those
The
guys
state
don't
will take
know.
responsibility for the road. Of course they will.
Do we have an issue as to whether or not it is low risk or high risk or whatever? Are we accepting the low risk?
Yeah, but
assessment?
The state has deemed it low risk, and it has a certificate as
Well,
low risk.
With
That's
the
my next
caveat.
question. How
It's
about
based,
this
It's
it's
group?
based
How
on,
about this group? Are we accepting?
it's based on information that was provided by the developer to the state that we question the validity of.
Are we satisfied with that?
We're not satisfied that it could not change tomorrow.
No.
And even the
But
state, when they,
it's right now, before the county, is a low-risk dam. Are we satisfied with that, or are we challenging it?
I'm fine with it.
Well, I think that's one question we ought to get resolved.
That's
And
why
in the
I think,
material that was sent out by Norma, you got all that big stack of stuff. It said that the O&M certificate concerning the dam has low risk, or whatever they call it, as a conditional certificate at this point, is pending, that there are some minor repairs that are required before they will get the official O&M certificate, regular certificate. Is that what everybody understands is the case?
if the state relies upon what's been given to them, they probably will come to that conclusion, maybe, who knows? They may or may not.
Well, it's pending now. We haven't heard anything. Is that correct?
But the state and the county have to, because one of the things that might happen is, as Owen says, it could go into a high state.
Well, it could, yeah, and probably will if nothing's done to it. But I'm trying to get where we are right now and what we could accept. Are we just waiting then for that O&M, the regular O&M certificate to come back from, I don't know, if it's the county or the state? And at that point, we're willing to move on. Is that where we are?
May I interject one point?
Sure.
In the same document that you just quoted, it says, future considerations. It is not expected that the classification, and these are excerpts, will change downstream. Dam is the most common reason for reclassification. The downstream dam is the Creighton Farm Dam. We're the upstream. Because the Hillside Circle Dam downstream area is already developed, it is not anticipated that it will change. Both streets were studied under fully developed conditions, which I'm not sure that's the case. And it is not expected that traffic conditions would cause a change in classification. Now, let me tell you, there is this note from David Southworth about changes in Creighton Farm, big changes. And I will share that with you later.
Well, are we accepting what they said, that downstream, our dam doesn't present a problem downstream?
Well, the classification can change if these conditions change. Development in Creighton Farm, increased traffic, and there is a question about biased traffic studies that have been performed.
But that's downstream, right?
No, it's both here in Creighton Farms and here.
If the traffic up here increases, it could change the classification of the dam. Is that
If the
right?
traffic studies are over 400. But here's my whole point. Why classify a dam low hazard and then put a caveat in it saying it can change? You have this, this, and this. If
Okay,
it's not
if we
low
want it to
hazard,
go
why
higher,
classify it?
high hazard,
And then how much money, Cheryl? I think you had a conversation with the state back in 2014, and someone said it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
well, the annual
I think
inspection
that's right, I
now
don't
would
remember
go up
what we
with
were
it.
asking them specifically, sorry.
The annual inspection, the amount listed in that, presumably would go up if it became high hazard, because there'd be more to expect, I don't know. I think that's something we ought to investigate, you know, the worst case scenario. So we
Right,
know
but-
what we're
So we
looking
know,
at.
but either way, this is what we were